In this one, we will learn about the new scrolling feature of layouts in Rive and also create a responsive layout like this with our scrolling contents. I'm starting with an artboard with a size of 1080 by 720, more like a desktop size. And then for our layout, we need two main parts. That is, on the left, we'll have the animation. That would be this one right here. So we'll use this as a nested artboard. And then on the right, we'll have the scrolling content. That is the feature points. Let's get started by adding a layout child to this artboard. That is by clicking on this button right here. This will add a layout and I can go ahead and name this as root because this will be the root and it will fill the whole artboard. So if we make changes to the size of the artboard, it will follow the suit. That's just fine. And I'll go ahead and remove the default fill from the layout. I'll add another child inside the same, which will go ahead and contain those two elements, that is the animation on the left and the scrolling contents in the right. So let's name this as container. Now for our container, we want it to fill the width, but for the height, we want it to hug the height of the contents inside. Right now, we won't have that options because we don't have any child inside the same. So we'll get back to this. And for the padding, we'll add some in the left and the right, let's say by 60 pixels, and remove the default fill. Now I'll go ahead and add another child layout inside of our container. And you will notice for our container in the height, we have the hug option available. Let's go ahead and select that. And as you do the same, you can see it just shrinks to nothing because this layout child here is set to fill. So initially it's nothing. Let's go ahead and change that to fixed for the width and the height and set that to a value, say 400 by 400. And I'll go ahead and add some corner radius as well. And now we need to make some changes in the layout options of the parents. Starting with our container, I'll go ahead and make sure things are centered. And then for the root, we'll go ahead and place everything in the center like this. Also, make sure the container is set to row. And now we can go ahead and add another child layout, which will serve as the container for the scrolling content. I'll add some spacing between the contents as well. Let's say 60. Now for our scrolling content, we will have a feature point that is a icon, a title, and a subtitle. I've already imported the icons, that is these right here. So I'll go ahead and simply drag and drop them to the artboard like this. I'll go ahead and first of all ungroup this icon group. So Control Shift G or Command Shift G on a Mac and then regroup the same like this. And now I can go ahead and scale it a bit up by let's say 2.5 times like this. Then I'll add a text and let's say give it a title and then change the color to black and the font to a custom font which I have imported. I will duplicate the same and use this as the subtitle. For the title, I'll go ahead and increase its size and make it a bit bolder. And then also name them in the hierarchy. So this one is our icon, that is wallet icon. This is our title, and this is the subtitle. I'll go ahead and create a layout with the same by making a selection of the three and either using the layout selection button from the inspector or hitting Control Shift L in the keyboard. Command Shift L if you're on a Mac. Now I can go ahead and place this inside of the right container and also name this as our features group like this. And then I can go ahead and drag and drop this inside of the same. Now to create a scroller that's also responsive, I'll go ahead and wrap all the content in a outer group or outer layout in this case and have its height fixed and clip the contents that overflow from its bounds. Inside of that, I will add a column layout which will in turn contain all the elements and will be scrolling with our gestures. So let's go ahead and perform the same. I'll go ahead and wrap this list item with another layout, which will be our column like this. And then I will set it to column as well. And for the feature group, which will act as our outer group, I will set its height as fixed and set it to, let's say, 500 pixels. The same will be applied to the list item. So its height would be fixed, the same as the outer group. I'll go ahead and align the contents to left center like this. And for the feature group, I'll have it align the contents in the top center like this. And also remove the default fill. Now I can go ahead and select the column and make sure it hugs the content inside. Now let's add the other list items or feature points. I will simply duplicate the same like this, and then I can go ahead and name them appropriately. That is the numbers. Now, one thing you will notice is if I go ahead and try to edit the contents of the text, but before that, let's go ahead and add a fill to the column so that we have a background to work on. And now if I try to edit this text content, so select it, hit enter, you will see we get something like this. The text has this placeholder for its width, but all the text just goes down. That is one letter as the width. To fix this, what you will have to do is first of all, go to the text options and set the sizing to auto height so that it gets a fixed width, and you will notice it is set to 0. That's why layout behaves like the same. Now go ahead and set a maximum width for the text which we won't exceed, and in this case I will enter 480 like this, and then set it back to auto width just the way it was. And now if I try to edit the same like before, we won't get that issue. Now I'm sure in the coming versions this bug will be fixed, but that's how you deal with it if you encounter the same. Now another thing you can do to deal with this situation is you can go ahead and expand the text and edit the text run in the editor like this. Instead of uniform spacing in between your layout children, you can have different as well. That is, in this case, let's say I want more gap between the icon and the title and not the title and the subtitle. So I can go ahead and select the layout, remove the default gap, and instead select the title in this case and add some margin. I can go ahead and click on this icon to reveal separate options for top and bottom. So to the top, I can add 20 pixels, and to the bottom, I can add 10 pixels and have something like this. Now you will notice the width of each feature point is different because of the subtitle text. And to create a consistency between the list items, I can go ahead and enforce a maximum width. To do that, I'll go ahead and select the list items, that is the 3. And then in the layout options, I can go ahead and add a constraint by clicking the constraint icon right here. And this will give us options to set minimum and maximum size for the width and the height respectively. So in this case, I want to enforce maximum width. So let's enable that and we get a field for the same like this. And let's set it to say 400 pixels like this. And now we have more of a consistent layout. I'll go ahead and remove the fill from the parent and also remove the layout guides, that is these borders, from the view options like this. So from here, you can enable or disable the same. Finally, I'll go ahead and clip out the overflowing content from the feature group, that is our outer layout, by enabling clipping like this. In the next one, we will add scrolling to the layout using the scroll constraint. See you there.